Hello, today we will be discussing about a new topic from MAF651, which is Kaizen costing. First, I will introduce our group members. My name is Majidah binti Muhammad Najib. I am the first presenter. The other two presenters are Nur Hamira binti Zulkifli and Nur Atika binti Rosli. Next, this is the contents for our topic today. We will cover definition, objectives, types of Kaizen costing, principles, types and causes of waste, 5S in Kaizen costing, implementation, advantages and disadvantages, and also references. Okay, so first we will look over at the definition of Kaizen costing. Do you actually know what Kaizen stands for? Kaizen is originally a term with Japanese origin, which was first introduced by Masaaki Imai back in the year 1986. So this is basically the combination of two Japanese characters, which are Kai means change and also Zen means good or for better, which gives them a literal meaning of change for the better, or another meaning is continuous improvement. So this Kaizen term is used for making continuous improvements in relatively small activities rather than major innovative improvement. Kaizen costing is the concept which aims to improve product quality and also to reduce the cost of production. Usually, the company will implement Kaizen after the product design stage and when entering the production process. It is also the process of continually reducing the production cost by eliminating non-value-added activities or waste. Next, we will move on to the objective. So, the main objective of Kaizen costing is actually to reduce the actual cost to manufacture a product below the standard cost. Standard cost system usually aim to achieve the cost standards which is set by the management, while Kaizen, they're usually more concerned on reducing the actual cost below the standard cost. So the potential cost reductions are usually smaller with Kaizen costing because the products are already in the manufacturing or production stage of their life cycles, and a significant proportion of the cost will have become locked in or fixed. For better understanding, please refer to this picture where you can see that Kaizen costing was implemented during the production phase, while target costing was implemented in the product planning phase. So, Kaizen costing was implemented after the product planning phase has finished and when entering the production phase. So, there are two types of Kaizen costing, which are asset specific and product specific. For asset specific, all improvement activities are related to cost reduction of use of chosen asset or resource. The activities are usually planned and directed as per the requirement of the firm or deal. While for product specific, all improvement activities are related to different resources related to only one product. The activities which are undertaken in specialized projects with great focus on value analysis. Now we will move on to the principles. In order to ensure that the Kaizen costing approach has been successfully applied or implemented by the business or firm, there are 6 principles that need to be followed. Firstly, the system usually does not strive for perfection, but rather they seek continuous or gradual improvements in the present situation at an agreeable or acceptable cost. Second, there are no limits to the level of improvement that has to be implemented. Third, it advocates or encourages collective decision making and knowledge application. Usually the ideas of many are better than only one person. Fourth, it concentrates or focuses on eliminating waste or loss and also improving the system and productivity. Fifth, usually the system involves in setting or establishing the standards, and then they continually working on improving these standards to achieve the long-term sustainable improvements. And lastly, it makes sure that all employees are participating, and it covers every business area, all the levels, departments, and also units.
Next, we will look into type and causes of waste. So, what is defined by waste? Waste can be defined as any production activity that utilizes resources but does not add any value for the customer. Since these waste add to the cost of product, they either reduce the profit the manufacturer makes or inflate the price that the customer need to pay. In general, customers are not willing to pay for these activities because they do not benefit from them. Therefore, eliminating waste makes a great opportunity for business to cut costs and improve efficiency. There are 8 types of common waste, which are excess processing, overproduction, inventory, defects, waste on human resources, transportation, motion, and also waiting. So first we will look into the first one, which is the excess processing. Excess processing referring to the effort that add no value to the product or service from the customer viewpoint, and it is a sign of a poorly designed process. This could be related to the management or administrative issues such as lack of communication, duplication of data, overlapping areas of authority, and human error. Next, the second one is overproduction. If you make more product than it is required by the next process, or you make it earlier than it is required by the next process, then it means you overproduce. This has several negative effects. It creates a caterpillar effect in the production flow and result in the creation of excess work in progress. It also can hide defects that could have been caught with the less scrap if processes were balanced to allow detection earlier. The causes of these are just-in-case logic and over-engineered. The third type of waste is inventory. Inventory is considered a form of waste because of the related holding cost. This is related to the raw material, work in progress, and finished good. Overpurchasing or poor forecasting and planning can lead to the inventory waste. It may also a signal of a broken and poorly designed process linked between unlevel scheduling, poor market forecast, and unreliable shipment by the supplier. Next is waste on human resource or non-utilized talent. This type of manufacturing waste occurs when the management in a manufacturing environment fail to ensure that all their potential employees' talent is being utilized. This waste was added to allow organizations to include the development of staff into the lean ecosystem. As a waste, it may result in assigning employees to the wrong task or the task for which they are never being properly trained. It may also be the result of the poor management of communication. By engaging employees and incorporating their ideas, providing training and growth opportunity, and involving them in the creation of the process improvement that reflect the reality they experience and the skill they possess, overall operational effectiveness can be improved. Usually, this type of waste are being caused by the poor hiring practice and low pay, high turnover strategy. The next one is defect. Defect impact time, money, resources, and customer satisfaction. Causes of these waste are weak control process and inadequate staff training. Next is transportation. Poor plan design can cause waste in transportation. It can also trigger other waste such as waiting or motion and impact overhead costs such as higher fuel and energy costs and higher overhead labor in the form of lift drivers, as well as adding wear and tear on the equipment. It is caused by the poor plan layout and long lead time. Motion is also a type of waste. Motion costs money. This is not only include raw material but also people and equipment. It may also include excess physical motion such as reaching, lifting, and bending. All unnecessary motion result in non-value added time and increase the cost. Motion may be caused by the poor people and machine effectiveness and also the inconsistent of the work method. And the last one is waiting. Waiting can include people, material, equipment, or idle equipment that referring to the mechanical downtime or excess change over time. All waiting costs a company has in terms of direct labor dollar and additional overhead costs can be incurred in the terms of overtime, expeding costs, and part. Waiting may also trigger additional waste in the form of defect if the waiting triggers a flurry of activities to catch up that result in the standard work are not being followed or a shortcut is being taken. The causes of these wastes are misuse of automation, upstream quality problem, and the unbalanced workload.
5S in Kaizen costing. 5S in Kaizen costing is stand for Seiri, Seiban, Seiso, Seiketsu, and Shitsuke. Firstly is Seiri. The meaning of Seiri is short. The item is categorized based on their necessity. Unnecessary items should be labeled red and sold to the staff or as scrap or will be dumped. Secondly is set on. The meaning of set on is strengthened. The essential items need to be arranged and in an orderly manner to simplify the operations. It also improves the visibility, availability, and accessibility of all the tools and items. Next is say so. The meaning of say so is shine. It maintains cleanliness in the workplace. It also creates a positive work environment for employees. Last but not least is seiketsu. The meaning of seiketsu is standardized. It establishes standards for cleanliness, usability, and maintaining the placement of items in day-to-day business. Lastly is shitsuke, and the meaning of shitsuke is sustain. It communicates and educates employees about the changes made. It also developing employees self-control and discipline to maintain and follow the standards.
Next, we will move on to the next subtopic, which is the implementation of Kaizen costing. Kaizen is the process of continuous improvement where the changes are made to the organization process. One of the major advantages of Kaizen is that it is continuous and not a time-bound process. Because of the benefit of the continuous improvement, many managers and business owners want to implement Kaizen in their organization. But how would they do that? Here are the 7 steps to implement Kaizen in your organization. First, you need to involve your employees. Before you proceed to the second step, you need to involve your employees because it will later help you to empower your employees as well. For example, if a customer service executive has a feedback on improving the processes, then his feedback can be listened to by the managers and he can be made individually responsible for implementing the changes in the organization. To implement Kaizen, you need your employees to be motivated and involved. You want to create a workplace which does not resist to change and in fact which is responsible for all the changes. To do this, you need a full cooperation of your employees and the communication between management and employees are very crucial. As a result, it is imperative that you involve your employees for the first step. The second step is finding the problem. The second step to implement Kaizen is to accept and find problem in your organization. For this, you need to take a 360-degree feedback and involve your employees. You can list out all the processes within the organization which need the improvement. It can be the customer service department, the production department, the finance department, or any other places where improvement are needed. You can list out the problem. If the problem are too many for a better management, you can shortlist 10 problems and then proceed with them. Remember, Kaizen is a continuous process and you will come back to the remaining problem later. But it is necessary to start with a small set of problems and keep improving. The next step is to think and find solutions. Managers can make teams of creative employees who are experienced and these employees can be focused on the problem solving. They might have a dedicated specific time to find solution to the problem the firm is facing. At this step, a lot of brainstorming will take place. Write down the solution and by using your own experience and the experience of the whole team, you can shortlist the suggestions which make the most sense. You can then make this suggestion for the implementation. The fourth step is implementation. Small-scale implementation is the best way to test out new theories, especially in the larger organization. Many people delay this stage due to the overthinking or a plain ignorance. At the same time, the implementation must be done in a planned manner. If the ideas need to be developed a bit more, then by all means, hold your assignment and develop the idea on the table before implementing it in the organization. A planned and controlled implementation is important for an idea so that the result can be tracked. Next is to check. Many times during implementation, there is just communication of idea to junior wherein the bugs is passed to someone else. This is what makes it is difficult to implement Kaizen and where checking and auditing comes into play. You need to ensure that the implementation is done to the ground level so that the results are proper. As the manager, you need to have the correct person at all points who is responsible for the implementation. So a manager can appoint the task to a team leader who can implement it in the team, keep checking on the progress, and then revert back the report to the top management. From time to time, audit need to be conducted and the progress need to be found out. Finding the result is the main objective of this exercise. The next one is standardize. If the results are negative, you need to go back to the third step, which is to think and find solution. You can implement some ideas which were on the table. However, if the result were positive and you find the process are improving, then by all means, you can standardize the process across the department and across all locations so that your organization run more effectively. Standardization is the best benefit of implementing Kaizen. Standardization improves morale by a huge margin because it saves time and manpower, and as a result, making employees happier and more productive. It also means empowering your employees by setting a standard procedure which they need to follow and by cutting down to a minimum. Last one in implementing Kaizen is to repeat. A standardized procedure becomes the organization culture when continuously practiced over the period. So basically, these are the 7 steps that you need to follow in order to implement Kaizen in your organization.
Advantages of Kaizen costing. Firstly is customer satisfaction. Kaizen costing is customer-oriented technique which focuses on providing better service to the consumers. And then secondly is continuous improvement. It also emphasizes on improvement or betterment of the product, process, project and the organization. For example, Ford decided to implement Kaizen practices that allow them to make their processes more efficient and finding ways to reduce times, correcting procedures in ways that ensure that every single time a process is repeated, it is done in a more efficient manner than before. Next is reduced wastage. Better time management and material in Kaizen costing technique, the wastage of time and resources can be avoided. For example, Nestle has made great improvements in the reduction of waste by lowering the time and materials wasted by implementing lean production by Kaizen. It also focuses on finding ways to not reduce waste and methods to best use the space and resources available and the best utilization of hidden and technology. Next is problem solving and improve efficiency. It can solve the identified problems and helps business implement new process improvements, boost efficiency and enhance time management. For example, Toyota deploy muscle memory training to train their employees on how to assemble the car and it helps them to achieve accurate results. By so doing, Toyota manufacturing is able to solve problems, minimize errors and maximize productivity. Next is forming work team and create better work environment. Employees are aware of their role within Kaizen guidelines and the responsibility each one of them has of discovering new ways of improving operation performance. The positive attitude is required by Kaizen principles to help team members of the organization to focus on what should be done rather than what can be done. Lastly is widely applicable. Kaizen costing is universally applicable to all kinds of organizations, whether it is service or manufacturing industry.
Although there are various of advantages in implementing Kaizen, there are also disadvantages of implementing it. The first one is it is a permanent system change. It is irreversible and required effort and cost in withdrawing such decision, meaning that it is actually difficult to start implementing Kaizen and even difficult to withdraw from such decision. Next is the resistance to change. Employees may not be ready to accept different systems from what they have been used to. This is why the first step in implementing Kaizen is actually to involve your employee. You need to get your employees motivated and involved in the implementation of Kaizen. If you create a workplace that resists to change or are not willing to give cooperation to accept changes, then the implementation of Kaizen cannot be done properly and it could be resulted to the failure in implementing it. The third one is the lack of training. Kaizen requires expertise and training. If it is not being implemented strategically, it may even lead to the adverse effect. Part 1 is temporary enthusiasm. Employees could be demotivated about work after a while. The next is time-consuming. Due to changes and continuous improvement, it will take longer time before the organization gets used to them. The last disadvantage is regarding the burden on the lower-level management. It is confusing for them to adopt the changes in the process or the product implemented.
So this is a few lists of our reference links that you can refer to as additional reference. As for conclusion, the primary assumption behind the Kaizen costing concept is that nothing is perfect, so there is always a room for improvements and reductions in the variable cost. So slight and additional changes are regularly applied and maintained during the production stage of the product lifecycle over a long period will lead to substantial improvements. Nevertheless, Kaizen costing is still essential for the organization as competitive pressures, which will force them to reduce the price of the product over time, and any possible savings in the cost facilitate in achieving the intended profit margins while continually working on reducing costs. So that's all for our topic today. Thank you very much for watching.